Usha, welcome back to Make Sierra Leone Famous. Conversations that explore history, culture, and our identity. With me, your host, Vickie Rameau. You can find previous episodes of our show on www.vickierameau.com. That's www.vickierameoe.com. And now, make the show begin.
I've definitely heard one or two people, or that question. Why these 20 icons? Why make una choose them people? Not that they disagreed with the choices. I think first we wanted to have a reference point for as many angles as possible when it comes to Sierra Leone and Sierra Leonean history. Madame Yoko, I knew was going to be controversial because people were going to say, well, we even saw it as we did our research. Certain historians wrote about that, the fact that they saw her as a sellout.
Today on the show, I have a long time friend of mine, Akindele Decker, who is based in the US, but only in physical form. In his spiritual and essence, he's definitely in Sierra Leone or specifically Freetown somewhere. And we're going to talk about his new book. I know the word, but it's a book that has tried to curate the 20 most iconic Sierra Leoneans of the past. So Akindele and Mr. Lebo, who you will tell us about. Is it Adrian Lebo? Yes, Adrian Lebo are co-authors of a new book called 20 Icons of Sierra Leone. So we're going to talk about the book, we're going to talk about the people in the book, and we're going to talk about Akindele in general and the work that he's been doing. I feel like I've known him now maybe for like more than 10 years, like 15 years in this space, trying to create bridges and connect the dots between Sierra Leone's history, Creole culture, slavery, and the history of Sierra Leonean descendants in the New World. That is how I'm going to call them. Akindele, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vickie. Thank you for having me on. Like you said, it's been years. I think the first time we met was on VSL.
Visit SierraLeone.org for those who don't know. Bimbola Carroll's ever famous platform, which predated High Five and predated Facebook. And if they're not been there, and also for me, still the VSL rights now.
Of course, I still want for Hoodie, but yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to be on. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so first of all, tell me about your history. What brought you to where you are now, where you felt like, I need to embark on this project, I need to write this book, I need to tell these stories. What led you here?
Okay, just a bit about myself. I was born in Freetown. I attended drama school. I went there for about 2 years before relocating to the US.
What year did you leave Sierra Leone for the US?
I want to say 1996.
Okay.
So it was right before,
the second, yeah, 1997, yeah.
Correct. So I think coming here and just being here for this long, being away from family, I was very close with the family while I was in Freetown. There was a vacuum, that I needed to have. And I think it was around 2000 and maybe 2000 or so that I had this spark. I wanted to reconnect with Sierra Leone. I started watching the documentary series by Samura. I think it was Fried Freetown.
Yeah, that was broadcast, I believe, on CNN. Yeah.
yeah, I was living in California at the time, and I remember I think up to that time I had African American friends. I wasn't really connected to the Sierra Leone community. But after seeing that, it took me to a place where I don't think I've gone back to where I was before then. Um,
So the documentary was like a transformative moment for you. It
Very
was like
transformative.
yeah, it was a come to Jesus moment where you're just like, oh my God, like, what am I doing in my life? You know, what? I'm Sierra Leonean. Why am I
Exactly.
lost here? What? I've not even won any a gown or anything. People have not even smelt the placas on me. What kind of person am I?
No, for sure, for sure. Because it also it was a different picture than what I left. What I left was friends, a very happy childhood, and just seeing Sierra Leone in that state, it was horrific.
And you
So
said you left in 96, correct?
correct.
And 96 was a very good year for Sierra Leone because Tijan Kaba Bindon Kam, I mean, just elect Tijan Kaba as president. And there was this vibe of possibilities that, like, there was an air of we are on the right path. I remember that time they begin make the road the inside Brookfields. I
Mm,
don't know if you know that small road in the inside Brookfields. I remember they were paving those roads. This was the era of family choice.
mhm,
Children going out at night, they had money to play
mhm.
these slots and video games. There was prosperity. If people have
Exactly.
not lived that era in Sierra Leone, you would not
Right.
really understand
Right.
the extreme and quick fall
Right.
between 1996 and 1997 in Sierra Leone. I know and I remember because I moved back to Sierra Leone from Ethiopia in 1996.
Mm,
So I came back also at the time I was like, how old? I think I was 12. But it felt, you could feel it. We were going to like parties and like, it just felt like Christmas the entire year,
right. Right.
you know?
No, no, no,
Yeah,
facts, definitely.
yeah.
I mean, I think it was, I definitely did not want to leave.
It be
After we,
sweet. Salon be sweet. And then tell them they say sweet salon, you the feel.
no, not be one left. I actually tell me, mama, I say, yeah, we can't go America. I say, mommy, I don't want to go. All my friends, Cecil and all this were like, oh man, you're going to America. I'm like, dude, I don't want to go. So I be like Usabi there. And
Mm-hmm.
coming over and just, becoming this African immigrant here at the time, it was just a bit different for me.
Oh, it was very different. This was before P Square made people happy for Africa. This is
Exactly.
before
Right. Right.
African Giants. This
No,
is
yeah.
before.
No, yeah.
This
I
is
mean, I'm
when
still.
you spoke. My brother, I know the time you're talking. When you talk to people, then when are public, then they vex by you. Say, Tambo, not talk to me, not public. The people that don't know, the people that don't know, say African.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. Most definitely. I mean, I definitely wanted to get to get back to things, and I remember um, when we moved to Maryland, which is essentially Salon number 2 or number 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when a lot of things changed as well because I had now direct access to Sierra Leoneans,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that helped a lot. But I think one of the other transformative moments was when I joined a couple of organizations, Sierra Leonean organizations, um, Young Leaders, Sierra Leone Network.
Hey, you have called another one.
I tell
Chai!
you, no, me,
You have
old
been
school.
long in the system.
Me, old school. I don't even bring it up anymore. I'm like, a
Oh
lot,
my
a
God.
lot of people nowadays don't even know.
That's also.
I had to
Hey.
tell you, I had to tell you. So just being active in those organizations, I think, um, helped me quite a bit. But I think um, I think the most important part for me was when I started doing genealogy research on my family ancestry.
Okay.
I remember one time my uncle came over from Salon. So it talked about, America. I say this is not America, so and so and so. Then I say, well, they say you grandpa, your grandpa be now be master in English and Creole. You know about him? And I realized at that point, even though I did know about him, vaguely, I realized that I really didn't know anything about him. I always had people coming up to me and say, "Oh, you're not," and someone's they can't jump Peking, and I'm just like, okay. So I'm like, let me go see what everyone is talking about, and I went to Google and I started researching, and I think I haven't stopped since. So for the last 15 or so years, I've been doing genealogy research. I traced the family all the way back to I think the late 1700s. And so doing that for me, doing that activity really opened up my mind into Sierra Leone history as well. How far we've come, what happened in 19th century, Sierra Leone, the progress, the lack of it. And I think all of that sort of contributed to just having that passion to sort of put something out there to get us back, to look back onto
Right.
into what we used to be
Right.
and try to move, have some type of metric that we can use to measure.
Yeah, no, I mean it's cliche to say that, if you don't know side, you don't come out, you don't know side to go. I totally understand that desire to unlock, which I think a lot of African Americans have, like the whole existence as descendants of slaves in the Americas. Modern day, it's about like identifying, well, who am I? Like, we don't have a country, I don't have a people, and that's where the whole genealogy, and DNA Africans, et cetera, that's where that desire comes from, because you want to know, like, it changes who you are. Like, once you know where you're from, once you know who your people are, you walk differently in the world because you belong somewhere. And in a way, that's why we're doing this podcast, because we feel like for the average general Sierra Leonean, they don't know the greatness from which we have come from. Like, I might know it in my family, you might have know it in your family, but collectively, we don't really walk around in the world like we've come from a great people. And if we can give people slices of themselves through these stories that we're doing, with individuals like yourself, we can help them unlock our identity and build these stronger connections and links, so you can like walk proudly in the world as a Sierra Leonean, like you're a better person. Respect yourself, love yourself.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, some of the things that when you said find out, this same grandfather was actually born in Calabar, Nigeria. And my mother's mother was born in Lagos.
Listen, we are Nigerians. Forget
No,
Creole people.
I know they
Creole
think
people,
that.
forget.
No, I know they think that. I know they think that. I've been having it all these years. When someone says, what's your name? Especially a Nigerian, what's your
Yes,
name? I
Nigerians.
says Akindele. Hey boy, you're Nigerian. I'm like, no.
It is salty. They're like,
Yeah,
stop,
I'm
stop,
like,
stop.
no.
Why
I'm
are
like,
you explaining again? You have said your name. I know you. In
right.
fact, let me tell you your history.
Well, because I mean, even on my dad's side, that same grandfather who was born in Nigeria, his mother was born in Solfon, Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And all her or most of her siblings were born in Solfon, Ghana, because their mother was a mix of Fanti and Fulani.
Yeah. Fancy people are really like, yeah, they're like, I always say they're like the Creoles of Ghana, the Fancies. They're
Right,
also very mixed because they're coastal people. So they're
right,
the ones also that did the traveling, this, this, when you go to Cape Coast here in Ghana,
right,
where the Fancies live, that's where you have the slave castle. So now then force
correct,
really meet with man, the way with man and come na Ghana.
correct. And the same journey. Adrian also had the same journey as well. A few years, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, he also started doing family genealogy. And he actually he was able to trace his roots from West Africa
Mm-hmm.
to Virginia. This is during slavery.
Wow.
And then from Virginia, obviously,
Back to Africa.
with the Nova Scotian settlers.
Wow.
And so he became very, maybe don't get Pandistia for like 10
He's
years.
like,
And he's calling me up and he's like, yo,
stop.
look at you find out. I'm just sitting there like, yeah,
Yeah.
So we had a lot of conversations, and obviously we wanted to take it a step further, to try to package it in some way so it can be something we can pass down to our children and their children.
Like a legacy project, right? Like for the community, right?
And I think that's what sort of led to this particular project, because we talk about Creole. At the end of the day, we realized that we can't really talk about our families or Freetown without talking about Sierra Leone.
Right.
Because the more you look into the history, the more you see how connected we all are. We're not really that disconnected in terms of the Creole journey or the Mende journey. Even when you look in Freetown, even though some people say, na Creole get Freetown, or na Creole normal be Freetown or something like that. From what I've seen historically, that's not the case. Yes,
well, no, not just
story,
of course. Omaminde.
So I think the more we start understanding those aspects of our history, I think the more we can start seeing how connected we are, and see Sierra Leonean history or Sierra Leonean identity, not just from who you are, from your ethnicity, but from what we all bring to the table.
The talk not on yet, but make we take small music break with the musical sounds of Sierra Leone.
The sound of Afro-pop and R&B singer M2 with Sweet Africa. M2 started her music career with the group JLC2, short for Justice Leo Chapter and M2. Later, she joined LMS with Lady F and Star Z. M2 went solo in 2006 when she released her first album, Sweet Africa, which became a hit in Sierra Leone and beyond. To date, she has released 10 studio albums, including Sweet Africa.
And now, make we go back to make Sierra Leone famous.
No, I totally agree. I think the other thing that helps with this is understanding, first of all, identity as this like very multi-layered thing, that is. And even when you talk of Freetown in itself, that the idea of Freetown in your mind is actually, in actuality, is very nuanced, right?
Right.
That Freetown is not really a tangible place with borders and demarcations, right?
Right.
The Freetown way we did talk about during the early settlers and the time of the Black Poor is not the Freetown that you and I know in
Correct.
terms of its composition and what that is. Or that, you know, I interviewed the glorious Cassandra Garber on this podcast. She was my first interviewee, and when she was talking about Sierra Leone and, you know, where the Black poor and the Black settlers got, you know, Sierra Leone used to only be that place. It wasn't the entire protectorate, because there was no protectorate then. It was just this space for these slaves. So when they refer to Sierra Leone and that being a place only for just Creoles, they mean that specific piece of land, which is not the same face as what we all now know as Freetown, right? Like, it's just such a, the name that is same, but the space don't change.
Right.
And I think that having that understanding really helps everybody with the fluidity of identity, and the fluidity of, even when you say you're a Sierra Leonean, that is a diverse thing. What makes a Sierra Leonean is geographic boundaries, but what makes a Sierra Leonean in experience, culture, and life is it's so many different things. It's so many different things. I can always say, you know, like for me, I can forget say no to all man. First of all, born and live na free tongue. No to all man, even like born inside. Like, you forget that your lived experience is not the norm, right? So when you want to begin to talk about salon, you say salon not this, salon not that, salon not this, salon not that, and then
Right.
somebody has to like check your privilege to say, well, actually, Sierra Leone is this because my lived experience is that, and you're just like, oh right,
I think it's in the absence of either the value we place on historical facts, or
mhm.
the fact that we don't necessarily, confront the things that we need to confront historically.
Yeah, we are a
So
non-confrontational people. We are passive aggressive. Do you not know?
I like to be very confrontational because
No, that is not you, but it is not our. We are a passive aggressive people. If I want to say Auntie Akindele, I cannot
right,
say Akindele, I miss you. I will say, oh, so Akindele, you're not a call person again. So now, so you tell now.
right,
Me?
right,
When
right.
what I really want to express is an emotion that I miss you, I cannot say that as a Sierra Leonean person. It's too direct. So I
That's
have to
very
be passive.
right.
I have to be
Right.
passive.
But I mean, I think it's something that can, even if it doesn't mean that we need to change who we are. I think it's something that we can, because we have to face each other. I mean,
Right.
we're not going to get ahead without doing that. And I
Mm.
think it's something that we have to address. But I just don't think we've had that opportunity to do that as a nation, as a people.
No,
I
no.
think I think a lot of the people that get to do that up to today, now the people that we don't go Oxford or Harvard, or they don't get PhD in history, and they're academics and scholars and all of that stuff, and they're the ones that spend all the time in the books. Like, oh my gosh, this is Sierra Leone, this is Sierra Leone, and they come out with a very wholesome, attitude and outlook in terms of who we are and where we need to go. But everybody else, which is the majority, they don't get that opportunity.
No,
They you know
yeah. People don't necessarily aren't thinking of their status in society
right,
based on like the historical context or who they are. You know, most people they're like, oh, you know, I'm poor. It's because government's this. I don't get this. It's because government's that. They don't really think about it in terms of like, you know, urban rural divide, in terms of allocation of resources historically, that
right,
the provinces have been under provided for in every way whatsoever. Historically, the provinces have always been under provided for,
mm,
right?
right,
Like as a region, it was where you take the most resources and you give the least.
right.
Um, and that's how since the colonial era is how it's been treated. It's like almost like government policy.
Right.
Focus pan song, it treats the provinces like na neighbor picking. Oh,
And,
maybe,
and I and I think that's where it's important for historical facts to matter, because what you brought up earlier, you said, Mami Gaba too. Mami Gaba, talked about Sierra Leone and the boundaries and things like that, and the fact that, Freetown was called Sierra Leone for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
This is fact. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
can't, there's no way of doing it.
It's not, don't argue.
It's
Go and
fact.
argue with your pastor. We don't argue about these things again.
No,
And
it's
first of
it's
all,
fact.
Mrs. Garber is like 93 years old. If you talk, nobody in what again. Pass, go and find your own ancestor who can come and contradict. But if it's you today that is not 93 that is going to say it, we know
Right.
they like just forget about it. Like she said
Right.
what she said, and it's like word.
No, it's fact. But I also think that for some people, and I think for reasons understood, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter whether Freetown was called Sierra Leone for as long as it was. I mean, I don't think we're going to get back to a time where Freetown becomes Sierra Leone again.
No,
I think
of course not. I don't think that there is. I don't think there's any debate. Actually, there's no existing debate. I think that it's some people who it bothers them that is a fact, right? Like they reject the fact. But I don't think that there's anybody who's like, oh well, we need to go back to the day when. Well, maybe they might say it, but it's never going to happen. So it's unrealistic. So it's not even up to debate. Like
right,
during the formation of the states, people then go England for go tell England, say we no one for make Freetown and the provinces join. Then say no, paupa, we're not going to join. We're not going to join, we're not going to join, and that is the end of it. And they joined us. So would I not like the joining? Now it is too late for the
oh,
unjoining.
it is,
Like forget about this. Right now we are as we are.
right,
And the question is, how do we move forward? And I think one of the ways that we can move forward towards national unity and national identity is
right,
by doing what you guys have done, right? Like creating these series, libraries, content, bringing together the country in a way that everybody can see themselves reflected.
right.
That's why I think that this book was so important. How did you guys decide who you would have in 20 Icons of Sierra Leone? Because I know,
Hmm.
child, I know like right now you probably like getting people who like, yo, first of all, this ain't even no Icons of Sierra Leone because so and so no did it.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard one or two people, or that question. Um, why these 20 icons? Why make when I choose them people? Not that
Yeah.
they disagreed with the choices, but
Yeah, they just want to
they
know why. What's your
wanted to know
justification?
why. Correct. So
Okay, well, so that's how did you decide who would be in your book? Who would make the 20?
I think first we wanted to have a reference point for as many angles as possible when it comes to Sierra Leone and Sierra Leone history. Madame Yoko, I knew was going to be controversial because people were going to say, well, I mean, we even saw it as we did our research. Certain historians wrote about that, the fact that they saw her as a sellout. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
I mean, where's Salia Kroma go right sing, but you say
right?
like no, to good. I mean, like, let us be like me.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
fighting anybody
right.
about like. It's like when Kasnagaba said Sierra Leone was just that area that was free. It's a fact. Madame Yoko was a sellout. It's a fact.
Right. No, I mean it's true, and I think that's why we wanted to include those few people that were well known, like the Sengbe peers as well, like Bure, John Aka. A lot of people know these names. You
Yeah.
know,
Who are some of the people that are in the book that people may not know?
some of the people are I'd say Online Cabernet Nicole is one. Uh,
Okay.
she used to be a government artist
Okay.
during the independence years, and she was very influential in having art included in the learning curriculum.
Okay.
So she's one person. I think Dr. Letty Stewart is another as
Okay.
well. I mean,
There's
I
a
knew this
pottery center named after her now.
right,
In
but
I think it's
honestly,
yeah.
yeah, and I think that it's good that exists. I was hoping to find something about her, you know,
Okay.
on that site. So, I don't know. I'm sure they feature her
No,
in
I
the.
think it may just be like a name. It's just named that way. I don't think she necessarily like or her people has an affiliation. I don't think that's what it is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So them and I think others like Harry Washington as well.
Oh, I don't know. That's a new one. I've never heard that one.
Yeah, he used to be enslaved by George Washington, the U.S.
Okay.
And he settled in Freetown along with the other black loyalists. And he was actually, it wasn't like there was this ex-slave that just came and just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. He was actually active and very influential in those days.
Mm-hmm.
There was a rebellion that happened in 1800 when the
Mm-hmm.
British came, when the settlers pretty much told the colonial, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever they want to call themselves,
Mm-hmm.
that they wanted an independent colony.
Who
Yeah.
else do you have there?
We also have John Kiesel. I
Also
think
never heard of that.
he's really.
Mm-hmm. Never.
I thought he would be fairly known.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually from the Sierra Leone area. He was enslaved from the Sherbrooke area and taken
Okay.
to then Congo, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So when INSEP come with Harry Washington and others, um, it go back inside the commons. So now
Okay.
possibly they
The 360. So not to just like he did the entire well, it's not the triangle, right?
correct,
Like he left Africa, went to the New World, and then came back.
correct, yeah. And I think the interesting thing is not to be enormous. There
Mm-hmm.
were about I want to say about two or three or four others. We then
Mm-hmm.
set up from Salon and
That's
when I'm being
yeah.
camp. I think one of them be named I want to say Peters or so. It'll be
Was it Thomas Peters?
no, it wasn't Thomas Peters.
Okay.
It was I think Frank Peters or something like that. But instead now the other person we come out salon and then make that piece.
Go back. Did you guys do like a 50-50? You have 10 women and 10 men in the book?
No. We tried.
Hey,
Let me
pause.
say-
Not
Hold it.
Campu, that government of Sierra Leone. We tried to find the women. There were no women because, please,
Right.
if you hear that in this program, we will be upset with you. Why is it not 10 men and 10 women?
We get series already,
Mhm.
right? So this is not the first in the series. The next edition will be now a women's edition.
Okay.
The one after that in our education, and then we just they go as long as
Okay, different topic. Okay.
so I want to say even though I know say we get Boku dynamic woman then we don't
Mhm.
achieve quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a challenge. It
To
was a
find them
challenge
because of the documentation, right? Like men
precisely,
are the ones who are writing history. Men
precisely.
like to read about other men. Men don't take an interest in women. And so
Right,
women's stories and their
right,
accomplishments is just not as well documented
right,
as men. Oh,
right.
I know the world we living in, how men try to keep us down. I know it. I
Correct,
know it.
correct.
Please, you can
No,
like
but even with that, there was no way we can make list we get 19 man, one woman,
so
or
how many women icons do you have in the book?
we can say we have about maybe 8 or 9, I think.
Okay.
I want to say
Not bad. Una try
it's
small.
sketch. It not be
Yeah.
easy because
It's not easy.
no,
This
listen,
is
the next edition all women, so it's 20.
okay.
And
Okay.
then we don't begin put together some of the other listeners as well. And so the same goal we want to reach for this edition, we also want to make it be the same for the others. So we
Okay.
want to make sure say even though we do a whole edition of women, that
Mhm.
don't mean say women and all for day in the health.
Hi, this is Vickie Rameau from the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. I just wanted to say we really, really appreciate all your comments, all your feedbacks, the emails, the DMs, every other way that you get back in touch with us. If you really love this show and you want us to keep making content to make Sierra Leone famous, don't forget to leave us a review. Thank you. And now, make we go back to Make Sierra Leone Famous.
subsequent ones.
in
Okay. It
education.
was one of the things also that the women, like, to be in this book, you had to be like a, I guess, a dead icon.
Correct.
Okay, like
For-
icons of the past.
Right.
Okay,
So that name itself, because obviously, you know, we don't begin ask around for some names to for consider for this next edition, and I know say one or two people there send a whole list of people alive, and I'm like, so I think that's an issue. Another problem will be then when it comes to women and then documentation is that it's not always that they're not documented.
But not in two
They're not
sentences.
named. They
Okay.
will say this woman at this village,
Yeah.
we do this, we do that.
Yeah.
And there's all
But
this data about the village and what you do. But there's no names.
because like, listen, if it doesn't have today, woman and begin suffer now this world, Akindele, think our suffering.
Right.
You think our suffering started today? No, it has been an intentional conspiracy,
Right.
a global conspiracy, a
Right.
colonial conspiracy, a post-colonial conspiracy to deny the Sierra
Right.
Leonean woman her rightful place. But I will tell you guys, it is going to be terrible for you, because now that we know that you're all working together to write stories where our names are not even there, you will say,
Right.
she did this, and then you say, in Bambatok, where it
Right.
runs by the river, in this.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
No.
No,
But
it was
hopefully with what you're doing also, you can actually then be the ones to write the first story
correct.
about the women, right? Like, nobody's made this person. You can be the icon makers, right? You can set the parameters. You can interview their family members, people who
Correct.
knew them, to turn first-person accounts into a historical record.
Correct.
Because I mean, something that we always forget is that when white people came to write the things we now consider history, now people then they ask, and also that then self write them by observation,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So we have to find a way where we have the confidence, because I think a lot of times we decide that the parameters for what is how somebody else has set it. And forgetting that we have the power to decide how we are going to define it and what's going to come, how we're going to constitute it, right? So you guys can then decide to do a whole series where these may be women who nobody wrote about, but these things, and you pull together from doing interviews and stuff. So that would be like super exciting.
No, that's definitely the idea, and I think that was the case for, because for not for all of the icons then, but at least some of them we try to engage with the family. And I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier about family. We own personal family genealogy, and which their family trees and family ancestries that they mean to we personally. And I think this now be one of the objectives that we set out to do. One of the edition actually, I kind of will get too ahead, so we go like two editions at a time at least, just to make sure we're managing things. But definitely one down the line has to do with literature,
of course,
literature and the arts,
yeah.
And it's going to be specifically for that. So some of the names that we call, more than likely,
if I'm not there at the one but writers, you will hear from my people, because
no, yeah, you want it.
Oh, not get for edit so living icons. This one where pass you die before you icon. So give me my flowers when I am here.
I think
living icons. I don't want to die. If I am dead and then you say I'm an icon, will I know? I wouldn't know. Now, so I can put it on my Twitter status. One of the crazy icons.
No, honestly, we get so much of that now. We get Boku awards and Heroes of Sierra Leone, and it's a lot. There's like 4 or 5 Warongkons where they out in the community. So I think there's enough of that. I think we need.
I don't know about that. But if I die tomorrow, I go put him inside it. Is that what you're saying? That I have to inside?
No, but we're not a play for that.
This is terrible.
We're not a play for that.
So die before you be iconic, Bo. Ameg, help us. Our life expectancy is not very long in our country. Ameg. Sorry for we.
No,
But I
the
mean,
they go far. We need you. We need you,
no,
Vickie.
I kid. Anyways, how can people, for people who are interested in getting 20, I know it's like 2 books, one that's like the regular one for adults, and then like one for like younger folk
Right.
to
Well,
engage with. So,
I want to make that clear because
mhm,
I think say I'm I'm pleased with the momentum, obviously
mhm,
around it and the excitement around it, but I can always be a bit cautious
mhm,
because again, one of my fears was how the response was going to be once it gets into the community.
community. Mhm.
Because a lot of the books they like this, where we get a lot of history books are written by academic historians. You know,
Mhm.
the Akintolawais, the Dr. Arthur Abraham, and
Mhm.
others. So one of the reasons that way we really push this forward as a curation or as a creative work was
Mhm.
to sort of also make it known that we're not the type of be expat academic historians. We-
I, standing on the power of my ancestors, I completely reject this narrative that you're trying to peddle right now
and,
to diminish anything about the work that you're trying to do by giving it a different name other than a history book. That is
right.
standard one phase one imposter syndrome right there. I reject it in you, my brother. You are a historian.
I,
Accept it
I appreciate
as
it. I appreciate
I just told you, we have to be able to have
it.
enough confidence
Right.
to decide what is the what. And if
Right.
you say this is the work I am doing, then you're doing historical work. You are doing research. There is who defined what history is? Who says who a historian is going to be? Are you going to tell me that the Yeliba that I went to interview in
Right.
Kabbalah, who has been passed on, that
Right.
person is not a historian? I beg, come out for this place. So
No, I
do
agree.
not,
I
no,
agree.
no. You too, forget, listen, Akindele, let me tell you,
Right.
from my
Right.
Yoruba ancestors to my Timini ancestors, from J.H. Dwati to Baisuba Ambolt, when I tell you that you are a
Right.
historian, in fact, put it on your Twitter handle.
And they go do that sky away. But listen,
Yes.
no, no, the
Vicky
point
Ramos says that I'm a historian. I'm a historian. I've written a history book. Don't shy away from
really,
embracing
when
this
you
title.
don't talk and so, when you don't talk and so, the next time I go out there, the
Put
first thing
this on
they
your
say, me,
put this.
the
Yes.
historian.
Yes. Ask
So,
Vicky Gemo. Just ask Vicky
exactly.
Gemo. Thank
No,
you. Reference.
no,
Mhm.
the point I want to make about the children's book definitely we cater we guys stand it for I'd say ages 6 to 10,
Mhm.
so for very very young readers, and also we obviously be careful take into context that salon level unfortunately not to the same as diaspora level when it comes to reading level, and then teenagers.
For
So
kids, you
right, for kids,
mean.
specifically for kids. So we had to sort of, work around that a bit. Now, for the other one,
Mhm.
um, I know say Boku people and King, Boku people with the order, we will
Mhm.
say, Akindele Decker send me the adult version. Yeah, and the adult version I want. Now,
Mhm.
we not be necessarily put them out for the adult version.
Okay.
The idea will be get now for say since we don't get this one for the 6 to 10 year olds, which is like
Mhm.
primary school JSS,
Mhm.
we wanted this to be available for primarily students in secondary school and college for the most
Okay.
part, but then also secondarily for general audience as well because we don't say
Okay, so
really
it's
adult one
that
in
you
the
have one for kids and then you just have so it's the same information but just the language is different.
the language is there's a lot it's much longer as well.
Okay, well, I've ordered both because I don't know what I was supposed to do. So I was just like, I guess I gotta get both. These boys gonna put us on the bus.
No,
You know, I
the,
guess
the
I know.
no the student version has time. It has a lot more stuff. It has
Like I
timelines.
said, I was like, I guess Adrian and Akindele trying to take all our money. I'm
No,
gonna,
they are talk
I
so.
gotta order. Please
No,
take all our money. Who do you want to take our money?
no
Who
talk
should be
so.
taking it?
You see,
Again, stop again. I reject this.
make them not can say this man not a historian who Listen,
listen,
no.
listen, pause. Again, another one. Let
Right.
me remove this thing from you. As a Yoruba and a Timni, money-loving human being, we need to stop this thing where when a Sierra Leonean is making money, it is a bad thing.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
it's how we have to. I mean, I love money. I tell people
Absolutely.
all the time, listen,
Right.
I love money. You just
Right.
like money. I'm like, it is true.
Right.
It is
I
true.
mean,
So
just not to even the money side itself. Just anything, madam. Like
yeah,
we get for feel confident.
Make Sierra Leone famous. The podcast is mixed and mastered by producer Frank Vin Bob McEwen, with support from the creative and talented team over at VRNC Marketing Company in Freetown. And now, make we go back to Make Sierra Leone famous.
I say, Akindele, who should be taking our money if it is not somebody like you and somebody like Adrian? Who should be taking it? Take our money, please. You have done the work. You have spent your time. You and invested. You've done the research, and you've given us something that will outlive all of us.
Right.
And I truly mean that, because just the other day, like, I have copies that I just gotten of some children's books from Sierra Leone with by Clifford File and by Marilyn Awuno Renner. And those books have outlived them, right? The book will outlive you. You've given us a legacy. You know, when they wrote Ola and the Ball, you know, they weren't thinking about, you know what I mean? Like, after they don't die 20 years, that, you know, they weren't thinking about that. They were just, but what you've done with the book and what we do when we create content, whether it's video, photo, but anything that is a creative expression, or I would say a gift to the community, because that's what this is. It outlives all of us, and it goes further than any of us can imagine. So please take our money, because you've done the work. I got mine on Amazon, but is there another way for other people to get it? Is it available for purchase in Sierra Leone?
It's available on Amazon. It's also available on our website as well.
Okay. So is there, what's the website?
SierraLeoneIcons.org.
Okay.
So if you order through the website, you actually get a signed copy from me.
Okay, wait, if you know me, don't tell me that. You know, phone to back copy and they get from Amazon.
Don't worry about that.
Okay, because I'm like, you know, create stamp or something where I go buy the book, let me stamp with his signature.
No, don't worry. And then also we get for Salon, because Salon really not the primary market. You know, the primary market. We're happy to see it all, you know, in the US and the UK. But Salon, for, you know, at TV they say that the other day, but Adama loves like that. Like
Yeah.
we
You
see
know this salon, you know sweet. If you know this salon, I don't like if it's not in Sierra Leone, you know sweet. Oh,
It's not sweet. It's really not sweet. It's really not sweet. You know, not to much say I don't appreciate all the people that
sweet.
But see Salomon, they look through them. Whether
sweet.
Moyamba,
yes, not sweet. If you're not dinner salon, you're not sweet. It's different. It hit different. I know it hit different.
For sure. So I mean, we try. We don't send one batch. We hopefully we'll get there next week.
Okay.
We'll send another batch in a couple of weeks as well, and then we go to try, because you know, unfortunately, now we get for print and force.
Sure, but we can have a separate conversation, because I just found a printer in Sierra Leone who's printing my first 5,000 copies of my book.
Okay.
I got a bulk order from Sierra Leone for 2,000 copies, and there was enough profit, so I reinvested it. So all the money I make for the first order, we put on for just print 5,000 block. Because if you know this salon, you know sweets.
Right.
So that's what it is. So once I go through that process in Sierra Leone, I can definitely connect you with them, because the profit margins, I feel like, are just better even when you print locally. It doesn't appear that way, but if you're doing bulk and batch printing, it definitely makes sense to do it at home.
Because shipping not easy. You know, the price will get for the book. We don't Oh No, it's not easy at all. It's not easy. So I really appreciate that.
No, I will. Why is it very important for every Sierra Leonean family to have a copy of this book? How would it serve them?
It connects you to your community. It connects you to time beyond your lived and current experience. If you are know a salon at different times during World War One or World War Two or slavery or independence years or colonialism or even modern day times, this book I think gives a lot of reference points
Right.
for we forget for we picking them so that me self way I mean ask me my daughter the other day. I say name me one person in the book. And I just Allah Bible. And I say, oh,
that's right. Sego Tenki no say Madam Yoko.
now me not get forever outside. I named it to you. You know worry. So and I mean the joy, literally, the joy to really hear her say that. It did America and I ever go salon. The joy to hear her say that, and I don't know how long that's going to be in her mind. What she's going to want to do with that information as she grows up.
No, representation matters, right? And sometimes I think that when you're in the diaspora, people think that Black representation checks the box for African representation.
Exactly.
But Black representation isn't necessarily Caribbean representation. Black representation is not necessarily African representation, right? It's a different thing. Yes, they're all kind of interconnected, but it is completely different. So it's important for us to not negate the importance of that for our children and just say, well, she's Black, so she can just read about Maya Angelou and that satisfies her need to her need to see herself represented. Yes, we can connect with a story about Maya Angelou, and we all do, but it's equally as important for her to know Baibure, right? For her to know Marilyn Awuno Renner, because she's a Sierra Leonean, she's an African child in the diaspora, and that is a different kind of Black identity as well, right? So that's important. So thank you so much for writing this book, for doing this work for the community. I know it's hard work. It's not the work that's going to make you a millionaire. I don't know how you go make this millionaire, boy. You keep writing for the community, all this community stuff. Good luck with that. If you don't like money, fine. But thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for doing this, because I think also in our generation, it's important for us to do this work like our ancestors did it for us. You call the historians, but who are the modern day historians? Who are the people who are writing Sierra Leone stories today? Personally, I actually only got the book for one reason, because my friend Adama is in the book. And I thought that it was just so incredible to see that, because I know that if this was a government project, her name would not be there, because they would not consider her as having made a contribution to Sierra Leone. But, I know what we went through to set up the company, and having been through the entire journey of forming Ashabi, and how Ashabi really was a transformative, was a catalyst for fashion design and creative fashion in Sierra Leone. I'm just like, when I saw that, I was like, yes, Akindele, do it.
Honestly, I will say, to be honest, to be very, very honest, Adama in story was probably the most emotional for we said, because it was direct.
It's us. She's one of us, right? She's one of us.
She's one of us, and that story was a bit. It was very emotional, but we definitely engaged with Manja and
it's a beautiful. I mean, it's funny because when I saw the image that you chose, I remember that dress. I remember the first version of that dress. I had a version of that dress. Our friend Mahawa had a version of that dress. Mine was lavender. Mahawa's was pink, and Adama had that version. So it was like such a great, it's such a great thing. And I want the book to come because Adama had given Olu a book when he was a child. And so whenever I read that book, I always say this from your Auntie Adama. And so I want the book so I can say, when I talk about Auntie Adama, like, this is who she is. And I want to be able to read that to him. So thank you so much for doing the work, for coming on the podcast.
Well, naidon so for today's edition of Make Sierra Leone Famous with me, your host, Vickie Rameau. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen. Ta-ta.